Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd love to know what you think. Every comment helps me make the next story better. Subscribe to stay tuned. I was mid-sentence, telling Brandon's brother about the Giants game, when I felt it. Vanessa's eyes on me from across the table. Not a loving glance. Something calculating. It was a Saturday evening in October at Brandon and Melissa Clark's place in Pacific Heights. Beautiful Victorian home, renovated interior. 18 of us around their long dining table, jazz playing low. Fog rolling in outside the French doors. Sophisticated but comfortable. Vanessa was at the other end, animated with her usual group, laughing too loud after her third glass of wine. I'd been watching her all evening, the way you watch a storm rolling in. That energy she gets when she's about to do something she thinks is clever. She'd been different for 8 months. More critical, more distant. It started small, the way these things always do. A comment here and there about how boring our routine was. How we never did anything exciting anymore. How other couples were more adventurous. Then it escalated. She started coming home later. Book club on Tuesdays that used to end at 9, but now ran until 11. Yoga on Thursdays that somehow required 2 hours of post-class socializing. And always, there was Bryce. Her trainer from that upscale gym she'd joined in January. Bryce says this. Bryce thinks that. Bryce took his girlfriend to this amazing restaurant in Napa. Bryce is training for a triathlon. Bryce believes in pushing your limits. At first, I'd ignored it. Told myself I was being paranoid. Then I'd started cataloging it, adding up the signs like evidence in a case I didn't want to prosecute. The intimacy had stopped about 4 months ago. She always had an excuse. Headache. Tired. Stressed about work. Not in the mood. We'd gone from being affectionate to being roommates who shared a bed. She'd stopped touching me casually, the way she used to. No hand on my arm when she passed. No quick kiss before leaving for work. The distance was deliberate, I'd realized. She was creating space for something else. I'd known something was coming. I'd felt it building like pressure before an earthquake. I just didn't know what form it would take or when it would hit. Part of me had been hoping I was wrong. That maybe she was just going through something and we'd come out the other side. But another part of me, the part I'd been trying to ignore, had been quietly preparing for this moment. Dessert was being served now. Melissa had outdone herself. Individual chocolate torts with raspberry coulis, beautifully plated with a mint leaf garnish. The kind of presentation you see in magazines. Conversations were winding down naturally. That comfortable lull when everyone's well-fed and slightly buzzed in content just to be in good company. People were settling into their chairs, savoring their wine, compliments flowing to the hosts. I was talking with Brandon's brother about the Giants' playoff chances when I felt it again. Vanessa's eyes. The weight of her attention. I glanced over and she was looking right at me, and there was something in her expression that made my stomach tighten. Anticipation. Challenge. Like she was about to make a move in a game I hadn't realized we were playing. That's when she stood up, wine glass in hand, graceful and deliberate. She was wearing that blue dress she knew looked good on her. Hair and makeup perfect, as always. She looked like someone about to make a toast at her own wedding. Can I have everyone's attention for just a moment? The room quieted. Conversations died mid-sentence. Brandon reached over to turn down the music. The shift in atmosphere was immediate. Everyone turned toward Vanessa, expectant, curious. I felt my chest tighten, my hands going still on the table. Here it was. Whatever she'd been building toward. Whatever storm had been gathering. She had this huge smile on her face. Not warm or genuine. Confident. Almost triumphant. Like she'd just won something and was about to collect her prize. I just want everyone here to know, because we believe in honesty and openness, Cameron and I have decided we're in an open marriage now. We think it's the healthiest way forward for modern couples who want to explore and grow. Dead silence. The kind of silence that's almost loud in its completeness. Someone's fork clinked against their plate, way too loud in the quiet. The sound seemed to echo. I could feel 18 pairs of eyes turning toward me, like spotlights swinging around to illuminate a stage. Some people's mouths were slightly open. Others had frozen mid-chew. Melissa's hand had stopped halfway to her wine glass. Brandon's brother had his water glass suspended in midair. Vanessa's smile was unwavering, challenging. She was looking at me with this expression of barely contained satisfaction, like she'd just played her winning card. She expected embarrassment, expected me to stammer, to look down at my plate, to clear my throat awkwardly and ask if we could talk outside. Maybe to just go along with it to avoid making a scene in front of all our friends. Anything but confidence. She'd thought this through. Probably for weeks. Maybe longer. Make the announcement publicly so I'd be too mortified to refuse. Corner me socially. Force me to accept her terms while she explored whatever she wanted with Bryce or anyone else. Keep me as the safety net, the stable husband, while she had her adventure. Have her cake and eat it too, as the saying goes. In that moment, I saw the whole architecture of her plan. The brilliance of it, in a twisted way. She'd created a scenario where saying no would make me look controlling and insecure. Where objecting would paint me as the bad guy, the one standing in the way of her happiness and growth. She'd framed it as mutual, as something we'd decided together. So contradicting her would make me look like a liar in front of everyone. She'd boxed me in perfectly, or so she thought. She'd miscalculated one crucial thing. She'd assumed I still cared more about appearances than dignity. That I'd sacrifice my self-respect to avoid social discomfort. That I was still the man who'd been quietly accepting her distance and disrespect for the past 8 months. But something had shifted in me during those seconds of silence. Some final thread of patience or hope or denial had snapped. I felt suddenly, completely clear, like I'd been seeing the world through fog and it had just lifted. I set down my dessert fork carefully, stood up slowly, looked directly at her. No. Her smile flickered. Just a fraction. You're in an open house. I'm closing this chapter. The silence got heavier. Someone gasped quietly. Vanessa's face went through about 5 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, confusion, panic. What? Cameron, what are you? I kept my voice calm. Level. You announced we're done. In front of 18 people. I'm accepting your terms. I turned to Harper Sinclair, who was sitting in the middle of the table watching with obvious interest. Harper was Vanessa's former college roommate. They'd drifted apart over the past 2 years. Harper was smart, direct, ran her own marketing firm. The kind of person who didn't buy into anyone's performance. Harper, I know this is terrible timing, but I've always respected how direct you are. Would you be interested in getting dinner this week? Somewhere we can actually talk without an audience. Harper didn't even hesitate. A slight smile spread across her face as she looked at Vanessa, then back to me. You know what? Yes, I'd like that. She glanced at Vanessa again. And for what it's worth, this is the most interesting thing you've done in years. But probably not the way you planned. The room exploded, not with sound at first, but with movement and energy. Someone knocked over a water glass, liquid spreading across the white tablecloth like a stain that couldn't be contained. Melissa said, "Oh my God," under her breath, her hand going to her mouth. Brandon's brother coughed to cover what was definitely a laugh, his shoulders shaking. Vanessa's friend Alexis started to say something, her mouth opening, then stopped, looking between Vanessa and me like she was watching a car accident. Multiple people suddenly became very interested in their dessert, eyes down, forks moving with exaggerated focus. The 2 couples nearest to us exchanged quick glances with each other, silent communication flowing. Should we leave? Is this really happening? One woman I didn't know well started to push her chair back slightly, like she was preparing for a quick exit. Harper's smile had widened into something almost wicked. She was leaning back in her chair now, arms crossed, watching Vanessa with an expression that said she'd been waiting years to see this moment. There was satisfaction in her eyes. Vindication, even. Vanessa was still standing, but she wasn't smiling anymore. She was frozen, her wine glass tilted at a dangerous angle, the red liquid almost sloshing over the rim. Her face was cycling through emotions so fast I could track them like frames in a film. Shock, the smile disappearing. Confusion, her eyebrows drawing together. Panic, her eyes widening. Then a flash of anger, her jaw tightening. Then back to panic as she realized she'd completely lost control of the situation. You made the announcement, I said calmly. 18 witnesses. You set the terms. I'm just accepting them. Her voice cracked. I was trying to open a dialogue. About our relationship. Harper's voice was dry. By announcing it at a dinner party? That's certainly a choice. I looked at Harper. I'll text you tomorrow about dinner. Thank you for being honest. Then to Brandon and Melissa, I apologize for disrupting your evening. The food was excellent. I walked to the front door, grabbed my coat from the entry. Several guests were openly staring now. Vanessa started to follow me, but I heard Harper's voice behind me. Let him go. You did this. The door closed behind me, and I stood on the front steps for a moment, breathing in the cold October air. My hands were steady. No shaking. No regret. Just this strange sense of clarity, like I'd been waiting for this moment without knowing it. I drove to my office instead of home. Needed space to think. Sat in the dark with city lights streaming through the window, watching my phone light up over and over. Vanessa calling. Then texting. Where are you? We need to talk. This is ridiculous. You're overreacting. Cameron, answer me. I didn't respond. Instead, I texted my best friend Neil. Can I crash at your place tonight? He responded immediately. Dude, your wife just called me freaking out. What happened? She announced we're in an open marriage at a dinner party. I accepted her terms and left. Finally, yes, get over here and bring beer. I want details. At Neil's apartment in the Mission, I laid it all out over beer. The whole 8 months of build-up. The distance. The late nights. The constant mentions of Bryce. The way she'd made me feel boring and inadequate in 1,000 small ways. How she'd stopped touching me. How conversations had become transactional. How I'd felt myself shrinking in my own marriage, trying to take up less space, trying not to be a burden. Neil listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally, and when I finished, he leaned back on his couch and shook his head. Man, I've been waiting for you to wake up for a year. Longer, maybe. He took a drink of his beer. She's been walking all over you. Everyone's seen it. Everyone's noticed. That hit harder than I expected. What do you mean, everyone? The way she talks down to you at gatherings. Like you're not quite bright enough to keep up with her brilliance. The way she rolls her eyes when you're telling a story. The way she corrects you in front of people about stupid little details that don't matter. The way she name drops Bryce constantly, watching to see if you'll react. Her obvious interest in him that everyone could see except apparently him, since the guy has a girlfriend. He counted them off on his fingers like items on a list he'd been keeping. At Brandon's last barbecue in July, she spent 20 minutes telling everyone how boring your vacation plans were while you were standing right there. At that art gallery thing in August, she introduced you to her friends as just Cameron, not her husband. Left that part out entirely. And at the brewery 2 months ago, she literally told a group of us that she felt like she was settling. I stared at him. She said that? In front of people? You were inside ordering. We all heard it. Made everyone uncomfortable as hell. That's when Melissa told me she thought you guys were having problems. The beer bottle felt cold in my hand. Why didn't anyone say anything? Neil shrugged, looking uncomfortable. How do you tell your friend his wife is like that? What are you supposed to say? Hey man, your wife treats you like garbage and you just take it? That's not a conversation anyone wants to have. We figured you'd see it eventually. Or you wouldn't, and it would suck, but it wasn't our place to point it out. But you all saw it. We all saw it. And tonight, at that dinner party, watching her stand up and make that announcement with that smug smile on her face, like she'd just won something. Man, I wanted to throw my water glass at her. But then you stood up, and I swear to God, Cameron, that was the most satisfying thing I've ever witnessed. Around 1 in the morning, I went back to the condo to grab clothes and essentials. Our place in Hayes Valley. Modern, minimalist, all Vanessa's aesthetic choices. I'd wanted something warmer, but she'd insisted on the sleek look. White walls, minimal furniture, everything perfectly arranged. Like a showroom. Like nobody actually lived there. Vanessa was waiting up. All the lights were on. She was still in her blue dress from the party, but her makeup was smudged from crying, mascara tracks down her cheeks. Her hair was messy, like she'd been running her hands through it. She was pacing in the living room when I came in, and she whirled around. Where have you been? Her voice was hoarse. Raw. Neil's. Getting perspective. This is insane. The words came out almost like a hiss. You humiliated me in front of everyone. I stopped in the doorway and looked at her. Really looked at her. The beautiful woman I'd married 6 years ago. The girl I'd fallen in love with in college. When had she become this person? When had we become this? I humiliated you. She cycled through her tactics fast, like she was running through a playbook. Minimizing first. I was trying to be honest. Open about my feelings. About what I need in a relationship. Her hands were gesturing wildly. I thought we could have an adult conversation about exploring our options. Then gaslighting. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. It was just a suggestion, just an idea we could discuss like mature people. Then blame shifting, her voice getting higher, more desperate. You embarrassed me by asking out my friend. In front of everyone. Harper of all people. You knew that would hurt me. I just stood there, watching her performance. Because that's what it was. A performance. She was throwing everything at the wall to see what would stick. What would make me feel guilty enough to back down? Then the truth slipped out, the way it always does when people are desperate and not thinking clearly. I thought you'd understand. Bryce and I have a connection. A real connection. Something that makes me feel alive. The room went quiet. She realized what she'd said, her hand going to her mouth. Wait, no. She tried to backtrack. We haven't done anything. I swear. I just meant we have chemistry. We talk. He gets me in a way. There it is, I said quietly. What? The truth. Finally. I'm sleeping at Neil's tonight, I said quietly. Tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. Tuesday I'm separating our accounts. By next weekend, one of us is moving out. You can't just decide that. You decided it tonight. You announced our marriage was open in front of 18 people without asking me. You don't get to control how I respond. She started crying harder. I'll tell everyone you abandoned me. Tell them. Every single person at that table heard you announce we're in an open marriage. Tell them I took you at your word. I packed a bag and left without looking back. Sunday morning, my phone was exploding with messages. Harper texted first. If you were serious about dinner, I'm in. But either way, that was the most impressive power move I've seen in years. I responded immediately. I was serious. Tuesday? Tuesday works. Everyone's been waiting for you to stand up to her. Welcome back. Brandon texted support. Vanessa's mother called, trying to smooth things over. I told her to have Vanessa get a lawyer and hung up. Then Vanessa showed up at Neil's building, desperate to talk. I turned off the intercom. Neil looked at me. She got rejected by Bryce, didn't she? Yeah. He filled in the pieces. Bryce had a girlfriend. Everyone at the gym knew. The announcement was Vanessa's backup plan after being rejected. Monday morning, I met with attorney Dennis Walsh. Experienced, practical. When I explained the situation, he smiled slightly. 18 witnesses to a public announcement? That's helpful. Do you have anyone who can provide statements? Multiple people have offered. We discussed assets. Simple division, no kids. Should be straightforward, he said. 6 months minimum. Could be faster if she doesn't contest. She'll fight. They usually do. But the public announcement limits her options. That afternoon, Vanessa ambushed me at work. I met her in the parking lot. You filed this morning. Her shock was genuine. You'll be served by end of week. She cycled through bargaining, minimizing, blame. Then went nuclear. My father will make sure you get nothing. I stayed calm. I paid 60% down. I have records. California is community property. Tell him to call my attorney. Tuesday evening, I picked up Harper at 7 for dinner at Boulevard Restaurant on the Embarcadero. I'd made the reservation Monday afternoon, choosing a place that felt special but not over the top. Somewhere we could actually talk without shouting over music or crowds. She answered the door in a simple black dress, hair down, minimal jewelry, looking effortlessly put together in a way that didn't feel calculated. She smiled when she saw me. Ready for an actual conversation? Her tone was light, easy. More than ready. The restaurant had large windows overlooking the bay. We got seated at a table near the glass, and I could see fog rolling in over the water, the lights from the Bay Bridge starting to glow in the dusk. The interior was elegant, but not stuffy. Soft lighting, not too loud. The kind of place where you can actually hear the person across from you. We ordered drinks and settled in. For the first 20 minutes, we talked about everything except Vanessa. Current projects we were working on. Harper had just landed a major client for her marketing firm and was excited but stressed about the timeline. I told her about a problem I'd been troubleshooting at work. We talked about our favorite spots in the city. She loved the trails at Land's End. I preferred running along the Embarcadero in the mornings. Recent travel came up. She'd just gotten back from Portland. I'd been to Seattle in August for a conference. Books. She'd just finished a novel I'd loved 2 months ago, and we spent 10 minutes comparing notes on the ending. Shows we were watching. Opinions on everything from the best pizza in the city to whether the new development in Soma was going to ruin the neighborhood. The conversation flowed easily, naturally. No hidden agendas. No testing. No analyzing every word for some deeper meaning. Just two people talking, finding out they enjoyed each other's company, laughing at the same things, disagreeing about others without it feeling like a referendum on anyone's intelligence or taste. Our food arrived. She'd ordered the halibut. I'd gotten the steak. We shared bites of each other's meals without it feeling weird or forced. The wine was good. The atmosphere was warm. And I realized, somewhere between the appetizer and the main course, that I was having a genuinely good time. Not forcing it. Not performing. Just existing comfortably with another human being. Eventually, Harper set down her fork and looked at me directly. Can I be honest? Please. She took a breath. I stopped being friends with Vanessa about 2 years ago. It wasn't dramatic or anything. We just drifted. But the real reason was that she's exhausting. Every conversation is a competition. Every interaction has an agenda. Everything's about image and status and making sure she looks good. And the way she talked about you. She trailed off, watching my face. What did she say? You sure you want to know? I nodded. I'm sure. Harper told me. Over the past year especially, Vanessa had constantly complained that I was boring, that our life together was boring, that she felt like she was settling. She'd mentioned Bryce for months, long before I'd probably noticed. Asked Harper if she thought open marriages worked. Talked about couples who explored and how much happier they seemed. When Harper had told her she was being ridiculous and that she had a good husband who treated her well, Vanessa had gotten defensive. Called Harper judgmental. That's when they'd really drifted apart. Everyone knew, Harper said quietly. We all saw what was happening. The way she talked about you at gatherings. The way she'd roll her eyes or correct you in front of people. The way she made you feel small. I'm sorry no one said anything sooner. But honestly, would you have listened? Probably not, I admitted. Sometimes you have to see it yourself. I realized sitting there, watching Harper talk, the way her eyes lit up when she was making a point, the way she listened when I spoke instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. That conversation was effortless. There was no walking on eggshells. No analyzing every word before I said it to make sure it wouldn't be used against me later. No wondering if I was being interesting enough or smart enough or entertaining enough. Just honest communication. Two people sharing thoughts and opinions and finding out they enjoyed each other's perspective. We laughed without it feeling like a performance. Disagreed about the best neighborhood in San Francisco without it turning into a fight about someone's intelligence or taste. She teased me about my coffee order. I teased her about her obsession with true crime podcasts. It was light, easy, fun, and underneath it all was this growing awareness that this was what it was supposed to feel like. Being with someone, talking, connecting, this ease, this comfort, this feeling that you could be yourself without constantly monitoring and adjusting and performing. With Vanessa, everything had been exhausting. Even good days required energy and management. Making sure I said the right things, reacted the right way, didn't disappoint her or bore her or fail to live up to whatever standard she'd set that day. It was like walking through a minefield while trying to look like you were taking a casual stroll. This, with Harper, was just walking. No minds. No performance. Just two people enjoying an evening. You want my take? Harper asked as we were finishing our main courses. She got rejected by Bryce. The announcement was about getting permission to pursue him without guilt. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too. Keep you as the stable, reliable husband while she explored her options. But she also wanted to keep you as backup. When you refused to play that role, when you actually took her at her word instead of fighting or begging, she panicked. I thought about that. It made perfect sense. Neil said the same thing. Because it's obvious to everyone except you. And probably Vanessa herself. She thought she had you figured out. Thought she knew exactly how you'd react. You surprised her. Hell, you surprised everyone. Including myself. She smiled. The best surprises are the ones we give ourselves. So what is this? I asked. Us, I mean. Harper smiled. Honestly, I don't know. I like you. I've always liked you. But you're literally in the middle of a divorce. So maybe we're friends who have good dinners. Maybe it becomes more. Can we just see? The relief was immediate. That sounds perfect. Good. Because I'm having a great time, but I'm also not trying to be your rebound. If something develops, it develops. No pressure. When I got home around 10, Vanessa was on the couch waiting. All the lights were on in the living room. She'd changed into sweats and one of my old college shirts, the one she used to sleep in when we first started dating. A calculated choice, I realized. Trying to remind me of who we used to be, who she used to be to me. She looked up when I came in, and I saw her take in my face. My expression, the fact that I looked relaxed, content, maybe even happy. Her own face crumbled. You actually went out with her. It wasn't a question. She already knew. Yes. You had a good time. I could have lied. Could have minimized it. A week ago, I might have tried to protect her feelings. Tried to make this easier. But I was done protecting her from the consequences of her own choices. Yes. She started crying. Not the angry crying from the night of the party. This was different. Quieter. More resigned. Like she was finally understanding that this was real. This is really happening. Yes. Because of one stupid announcement. Her voice was small now. Childlike, almost. One stupid thing I said at a party. I sat down in the chair across from her. Not next to her on the couch. The physical distance felt important. Necessary. It's not because of one stupid announcement, Vanessa. It's because of 8 months of distance. 8 months of you making me feel inadequate. 8 months of you building a case for why you deserved something else. Talking about Bryce constantly. Coming home late. Pulling away from me physically and emotionally. Making me feel boring and small and like I was never quite enough. Saturday just made it impossible to ignore. You forced my hand. You made it public. You took away my ability to pretend everything was fine. She was shaking her head. I didn't mean it like that. I just thought. What did you think? Walk me through it. What was the plan? She wiped at her eyes, smearing more mascara. I thought if I announced it publicly, you'd have to accept it. Or if you didn't, you'd look controlling and everyone would see it wasn't me being bad. It was you being rigid and boring. Either way, I could explore things with Bryce without feeling guilty. And you'd still be here. Still be the stable one. Still be home. So I'd be your backup plan while you had your adventure. That's not. She stopped. Looked down at her hands. Yeah, I guess so. At least she was being honest now. Finally. Here's what you didn't consider, I said. That I might actually take you at your word. That I might have some self-respect left. That I might be tired of being treated like I'm not quite good enough, but still good enough to keep around. That I might realize I deserve better than someone who announces our marriage is open without even talking to me first. Then the real truth came out. She looked up at me, her face blotchy and red, and just said it. Bryce rejected me. I waited. 2 weeks ago, I was at the gym and I told him how I felt. That I thought we had something. That I wanted to explore it. And he looked at me like I was crazy. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. He has a girlfriend. A serious girlfriend. He was just being friendly because that's his job. He's a trainer. Being encouraging and supportive is literally what they pay him for. And I thought it was something more. She was crying harder now, words tumbling out. I was so embarrassed. So stupid. I'd built up this whole fantasy in my head. This whole story about how we connected, how he understood me in ways you didn't. And it was all just me. Just me projecting what I wanted onto someone who was being nice to me at the gym. So the announcement was my backup plan. Plan B. I thought if I announced we were open, you'd either say no and I could blame you for being controlling and rigid, and that would justify me being unhappy. Or you'd say yes and I could find someone else, someone who did want me, and I'd save face. And either way, I'd still have you. Still have the house and the stability and the life we built. You were supposed to be my safety net. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Self-awareness. Real, painful self-awareness. I wanted you to react. To get upset. To beg me not to do it. Because then I'd know you still wanted me. Still cared. But instead, you just accepted it. You called my bluff. And you asked out the one person whose opinion I actually respect. The one person who's seen through my bullshit for years. The one person I was most afraid of looking stupid in front of. Harper. Harper. She said it like a curse. Of course it had to be Harper. I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it because Harper's genuine. And I realized I haven't had a genuine conversation with you in months. Is there any chance? No. We could try counseling. I don't want to try. I want to be done. You freed me on Saturday. I'm accepting that freedom. The next few days moved fast. Wednesday, I opened a new bank account. Thursday, Vanessa was served with divorce papers. She called crying, making threats. My attorney responded. Friday, Neil and Brandon helped me pack and move my things. You're way calmer than I'd be, Brandon said. I've been preparing for this for months. I just didn't know it. Vanessa tried controlling the narrative on social media that weekend. Posted something vague about betrayal. Harper commented with the truth. Multiple dinner party guests chimed in. Vanessa deleted the post and made her account private. I posted nothing. My silence spoke volumes. 2 weeks after the party, I met Harper for coffee. Third time seeing each other. "How are you actually doing?" she asked. "Better than expected." Relieved. Like I've been holding my breath for months and finally exhaled. "Don't make yourself wrong for trying to make it work. You're a decent person who wanted to believe your wife. That's not weakness." I realized something. I already know I'm not going back. I've known since that night. "And have you settled into it?" "Yeah, I have." Harper smiled. "Good. Because I like you. So whenever you're ready to figure out what this is, I'm here." What if I said I'm ready now? Then I'd say let's see where it goes. 3 weeks later, Vanessa asked to meet. She looked tired, less put together. "I've been in therapy. I see now what I did. I want to fix this." "I'm glad you're in therapy, but it doesn't change my answer. We've been together 8 years. That has to mean something. It means I spent 6 years trying to be enough for someone who kept moving the goalposts. It means I confused stability with happiness. You were never this articulate when we fought. Because I was trying to keep the peace. Now I'm telling the truth." 3 months later, the divorce was finalized at San Francisco Superior Court. Quick hearing. Judge sided with me on contested points. Condo sold. Proceeds split 60-40. Clean break. Neil was waiting outside. "How does it feel?" "Like I can finally breathe." A month after that, I ran into Brandon and Melissa at the Ferry Building Farmers Market. Harper was with me. "You look different, man," Brandon said. "Good different." Melissa nodded. "What you did that night. It showed everyone that you don't have to accept being treated poorly. Half our friend group has made changes because of watching you." "You set a boundary and held it," Brandon added. "People respected that." 6 months after the announcement, Brandon and Melissa hosted another dinner party. Smaller gathering. Harper came as my date. No awkwardness. Just warmth. I stood near the kitchen with a beer, similar position as 6 months ago. Everything felt different. Neil came over. 6 months ago, you were standing right here. Different now? Completely. Better. Immeasurably. Harper joined us. "What are you two being serious about?" "Just how much can change in 6 months. For the better, I hope." "Definitely." Later at my apartment, Harper and I sat with city lights through the window. "You laugh more now," she said. "Genuinely. I don't think you did before." I didn't have much to laugh about. "Do you now?" I looked at her. "Yeah, I really do." That night, what Vanessa did was meant to humiliate you. But it freed you instead. Poetic justice. She forced my hand. Just not the way she intended. I'm not even angry anymore. Just grateful she made me choose myself. What would you tell yourself 6 months ago? That self-respect isn't selfish. That leaving dysfunction isn't giving up. That being treated well should be normal, not exceptional. The next morning, I made coffee while Harper read news at the counter. Easy domesticity. Brandon texted. "Great seeing you both. You're glowing. Happy looks good on you." I smiled and typed back. "Thanks. It feels good too." Harper looked up. "What are you smiling about?" "This. How easy it is." It should be easy. That's how you know it's right. 6 months ago, my wife announced our marriage was over at a dinner party. She thought she was humiliating me. Instead, she freed me. Not because of Harper, though meeting her was a gift, but because I finally chose myself. Chose my dignity. Chose to walk away from someone who kept moving the goalposts. The best decision she made was that announcement. The best decision I made was taking her seriously. I'm lighter now. Clearer. Happier. And that's worth everything. "Hey," Harper said. "Coffee's getting cold." I smiled. "Coming." Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.